Question 12 is calculus. And just a couple of things to be wary of for this type of question. This sort of sentence here, we've seen that in a couple of the previous questions as well. So you can do numerical integration in a calculator. If you've got a graphical calculator, you can do lots with that. That's not going to get you anywhere. And also, it's a show that question, so you've got the answer. So obviously that's helpful in that you'll know you've got it correct if you do manage to get an area of 46. But it does also mean that they need to be sure that you've actually calculated everything. You haven't just used that answer to sort of fill in some gaps. And there's two halves to this question, and the 10 marks are actually split evenly across the two parts. There's clearly going to be some integrating, because we're trying to find the area. And that's actually what I would do second. And then there's also some differentiating, because they talk about a normal, which is this line here, and we're going to need to work with that. So the first thing I would do is look at the area you're trying to find and sort of try and come up with a bit of a plan. So what have we got? Well, we've got that part of it there, which we can get through integration. So if we integrate curve C between that value and that value, and we do actually have both of those, I can see there that x is 2. And here, I'm pretty sure it tells us somewhere, yes, it tells us the point P, 4, 6. Oh, sorry, ignore me, 4, 6. So 4, 6 is where they cross. So actually, I could do the integration first to get that green shaded area. Then I've got this area, which I can also get through integration, but I think I would do it just as a triangle. So area of a triangle is half base times height. Well, again, I do know the height of that triangle, again, because I know the coordinate 4, 6. So I know the height of that triangle is 6. So if I can get the base of that triangle, I'll have everything I need. How can I get the base of that triangle? Well, if I can get that coordinate, then I can take away 4, and I'll have the base of that triangle. So let's try that bit first. I'm going to try, let's clear all this up. Okay, I'm going to try and fit my working here next to the diagram. Okay, so how am I going to find the equation of this line? Well, that line is the normal. So I am definitely going to differentiate the curve to find the gradient. So I'm differentiating this curve. So we had a bit of simplifying to do right back at question 1. Same thing here, it's not too tricky, just be careful, the 32 isn't going to change, but I need to write it as a power of x to the minus 2 ready to differentiate, and then also later on when I need to integrate. So I'm going to multiply by the power of minus 2, and I'm going to reduce the power, just be ever so careful you don't accidentally put minus 1, it's so easily done. And then the 3x is going to differentiate to 3, and then minus 8 is going. So what do I need that for? Well, I want to find the gradient of curve C, okay, and it's at this point here, which I know is when x equals 4. So when x equals 4, dy dx equals minus 64 over 4 cubed plus 3. So that should give you a value of 2. Okay, but that's the gradient of the curve, and therefore the gradient of the tangent. I want the normal, so I want a line with a gradient of negative a half, the negative reciprocal, that goes through 4, 6. Okay, I don't actually need the full equation of this line. I think I'll get it just because that's what I think most people did for this question. So y minus my y coordinate is my gradient times x minus my x coordinate. I would multiply up by the 2 and then multiply the brackets through by the negative 1 and then end up with 2y. Doesn't really matter what form I have this in, so let's just say 2y minus 16 equals x. Okay, well, what am I actually looking for there? I'm looking for the sorry about that. I knew I'd gone wrong. I just couldn't figure out why. It's just because I lost the minus there. Right. Okay. So what am I actually looking for? I'm looking for that coordinate there. So that's when y is 0. So 0 minus 16 is minus x. So x is 16 there. Okay. So that's actually, you're on 5 marks by that point. Okay, so you're actually halfway through the question. But why was I trying to find that out? Well, it was because I needed the base of that triangle. Oh, no, sorry, that was the triangle, wasn't it? I need the base of that triangle. So I was told in the question that x was 4 at P. I now know that x is 16 there. I know that y is 6 at P, so I know that's a height of 6. So I've basically got a triangle with a height of 6 and a base of 12. Okay, so let's give ourselves a bit more space. Okay, so now we're kind of moving on to the second part of this. So the area of that triangle, obviously we've got quite a lot of working here, so I'm trying to get it all on one slide, but just make sure everything is very clearly labelled. So the area of the triangle is half times the base times the height, so it's going to be 6 times 6, so 36. And we don't really have a unit. You can put square units, but 36 is absolutely fine. Okay, so let's go back up to our diagram. Right, so that triangle has an area of 36. And we've already discussed how we're going to get the other part of the area, and that is going to be to integrate the curve between 2 and 4. Okay, so scroll down a bit and we'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to integrate. So again, I need the curve written as powers of x, ready to integrate. So 32x to the minus 2 plus 3x minus 8. And I'm going to integrate that between 4 and 2. Okay, so I'm going to increase that power to minus 1. I'm going to divide by minus 1, which will just make it negative. I am going to increase that power to 2 and divide by 2. I'm going to increase that. I don't need a plus c because it's definite integration. I do, so this is where you've got to be careful not to just go straight to your calculator. I do need to show some working. So 32x to the power of minus 1 means 1 over x, but just something to show that you're substituting in 4 first, and then you're substituting in 2 and you are subtracting that. So 32 over 2 plus 3 over 2 times, okay, all right, don't do this, but I'm just going to rub that out because I'm running out of space. Okay, so 3 over 2, 3 over 2 times x squared minus 8. Okay, and I know what I'm hoping that will give me. I'm hoping that will give me 10, because I know the area of the triangle is 32 and the total area is supposed to be 46, but I am just going to double check that in case I've done something daft, and then I can just go back and check my working. Okay, good news, I've checked it and it does equal 10, so that's an absolute bonus. So my final mark is going to come from just being very clear with my conclusion. So 10 plus 36 equals 46 as required. And obviously I've been moving around a little bit to try and fit everything on one page, but just make sure your working is very clear. Could even just add a label. So that was that wasn't the area of the triangle, that was the area under curve. So you can always, at the end, you can always just look back through your working and just check it definitely is going to be okay for somebody to follow. And that's the area of triangle, and that's total area. I think an issue with this question may well have been people running out of time, and obviously that's something to just to keep thinking about, keep working on. The more past papers you do, the more experience you get, the better you'll get at kind of pacing and just making sure that you don't get sort of bogged down on one question and then run out of time for one like this that possibly you could have done.